Let's talk about obstruction of justice. There has been a growing focus when we talk about Donald Trump and the Trump-Russia investigation on whether or not Donald Trump may have obstructed justice. We learned that Donald Trump knew back in January of 2017 that Michael Flynn had misled the FBI and lied to Mike Pence. And then he tried to get the investigation shut down by James Comey. He wanted James Comey to end the investigation. We have learned that Donald Trump contacted multiple Republican senators over the summer to get the investigation shut down. And as much as the Russia collusion itself is a matter of discussion, obstruction of justice, which we could call generally kind of part of the cover-up, is also a big matter. And John Dowd is one of Donald Trump's lawyers, and he had a sort of Richard Nixon moment where he told Mike Allen of Axios that the president simply cannot be guilty of obstruction of justice. John Dowd saying, quote, "The president cannot obstruct justice because he is the chief law enforcement officer under the Constitution's Article 2 and has every right to express his view of any case." When I read this, I thought this is the 2017 version of this now infamous quote from President Richard Nixon.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal.
This is an if the president does it, it's not illegal argument, plain and simple. Now, Trump's attorney, John Dowd, is saying, while we believe that the president cannot obstruct justice, that is not our defense. We still, of course, don't believe that he did. But by the way, don't waste your time because we believe that the president cannot obstruct justice. This is another way of saying, I'm above the law. I'm above the law, period. And there are two questions here. Number one, is John Dowd correct? And number two, why does this matter? Let's take the second part first. Why is this huge? This is huge because the goalposts keep moving, right? First, there will be no investigation. Then it's okay, fine. An investigation has started, but it's going to find nothing. And then it's okay. The investigation did lead to some indictments, but they're not related to anything Trump did or knew about. The goalposts keep moving. Here's another example. At first it was, of course there's no collusion. And then it became collusion wouldn't necessarily be illegal. And with obstruction of justice, the goalpost moving is, it used to be obstruction of justice, no way, no how, put it out of your mind. And now the conversation has shifted to, even if the president obstructed justice, the president can't actually be charged with that because they are president of the United States. That's a new conversation where the goalposts have been moved so far that they're in the locker room or the parking lot of the stadium. Arguing that you couldn't possibly be charged with obstruction of justice is not a strong position, it's a weak position. Now to the first part. Could a president be charged with obstruction? Differing opinions about this. When you look at the articles of impeachment filed against Richard Nixon, they started by saying that Nixon obstructed and impeded the administration of justice. Bob Woodward believes that this is not really a settled issue, but said that realistically, the only actual path forward for Trump's removal would be impeachment or resignation, and that you certainly shouldn't be counting on getting the president on criminal obstruction of justice charges. But remember, Bill Clinton was impeached for perjury and obstruction of justice. And what are we coming to? We're coming to endless and far-reaching investigations of everyone at every level here, because it's not just Trump. We learned about KT McFarland. We learned about Jeff Sessions. We learned about Mike Flynn and Jared Kushner and Pence. The Republican Party held years of hearings over Benghazi for Hillary Clinton. They impeached Bill Clinton for lying about oral sex. They flipped out when Obama wore a tan suit, and they just want this to go away. So what we need to do is to continue talking about everything else that's going on in politics, net neutrality, tax cuts, healthcare, everything, but we can't let this go away. This is growing to be one of the biggest scandals in the history of American presidencies. Already 4 indictments, 3 investigations, and a revolving door of personal lawyers for Donald Trump trying to keep him out of harm's way. We cannot let it go away. And interestingly, we also need to call out the insane flip-flops and hypocrisies from Republicans on this issue of whether a president can obstruct justice. And that's why I want to talk to you about Jeff Sessions next.